Documentary examines that journey over the past 4 years.
Sugar Mass, we're coming home. It's been a long time coming. This is your homecoming. If you're coming over, can I have a sing? No place like home. No place like home. No place like home. Especially when we got carnival. Come ignite the bacchanal. No matter where we roam, we say no place like home. No place like home. No place like home. Especially when we got carnival. Come ignite the bacchanal. If you know you coming home.
Starting a business is exciting, but turning it into a success can be tough.
We have the ideas and the passion, but what about the financial know-how?
That's why the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship created the Building Bankable Businesses program to help us develop financial skills and to get loan ready.
Wait, so you're saying this program can actually help me get a loan?
Yes, it gives us the knowledge to strengthen our business and an alternative pathway to qualify for National Bank's small business loans.
So you mean I won't just be walking into the bank hoping for the best?
Of course not. You'll be prepared, confident, and know exactly what's required.
Thanks to the Building Bankable Business Financial Literacy Program, I finally understand what my business needs to grow.
Now I know how to plan, manage, and position myself for success.
Take control of your business's future with the Building Bankable Businesses program.
Opportunities like this don't come every day. Don't let it pass you by.
Together, the Ministry of Small Business and Entrepreneurship and the St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla National Bank are your trusted partners in building bridges to financial solutions.
In public life, portfolios are often discussed in terms of policy, programs, and performance metrics. But behind every ministry is an individual tasked with navigating competing priorities, responding to national challenges, and making decisions that ultimately shape people's lives. For the past 4 years, Minister Samal Duggins has occupied one of the most demanding and wide-ranging spaces within the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, overseeing sectors that sit at the heart of the country's economic and social transformation. Yet beyond the titles and ministerial responsibilities is a figure whose leadership style has often been defined by accessibility, visibility, and an insistence on engagement at the ground level. Whether in farming communities, at fisheries landing sites, on sporting fields, inside small businesses, or among young creatives and entrepreneurs, Minister Duggins has cultivated a reputation as a hands-on minister, one who prefers presence over distance and direct interaction over political abstraction. His portfolio spans agriculture, fisheries, the blue economy, small business development, sports, the creative economy, and emerging industries such as medicinal cannabis. Collectively, these sectors represent not only key economic drivers, but areas deeply connected to national identity, opportunity, and resilience. For Minister Duggins, however, the assignment has appeared to extend beyond administration. It has been about reshaping perceptions, positioning agriculture as innovation, sports as industry, creativity as commerce, and entrepreneurship as nation building. This documentary examines that journey over the past 4 years.
Honorable Samal Duggins, Minister of Sports, Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources, Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives and the Creative Economy. Miss Valencia Saida, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Sports. Mr. Randall Thompson, Acting Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine Resources. Miss Delreen Taylor, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives and the Creative Economy. Mr. Jeffrey Hazel, Director of Sports. Mr. Stuart Versailles, Director of the Department of Agriculture. Mr. Nadiv Mills, CEO of the St. Kitts Nevis Medicinal Cannabis Authority. Miss Robertine Webb, Director of the Creative Economy, Mr. Pierre Leibud, Director of Cultural Heritage, Mrs. Erla Clark Allen, Registrar of Cooperatives, Miss Shannon Hawley, Chair of the St. Kitts Nevis National Carnival Secretariat, other dignitaries, senior government officials, specially invited guests, members of the media, colleagues and friends, good morning. My name is Azaria Vanterpool, and I have the privilege of serving as your chairperson for today's press conference. To begin this morning's proceedings, I invite you to please stand for the playing of the national anthem, followed by the opening prayer.
O land of beauty, O country where peace abounds, thy children stand free on the strength of will and love, with God in all our struggles. St. Kitts and Nevis be our nation bound together with a common destiny. As stalwarts we stand for justice and liberty, with wisdom and truth we will serve and honor thee. No sword nor spear can conquer, for God will sure defend. His blessing shall forever to posterity extend.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the gift of life, health, and strength, and for the opportunity to gather here today as we reflect on the work undertaken during the second quarter of 2026. We thank you for your continued guidance and blessings upon our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We are grateful for the progress that has been made, the opportunities that have been created, and the many individuals whose lives have been positively impacted through service, dedication, and hard work. Lord, we ask your wisdom and guidance upon our leaders, particularly the Honorable Samal Duggins, our permanent secretaries, directors, and all public servants represented here today. Grant them clarity of vision, sound judgment, and the strength to continue serving with integrity, purpose, and compassion. As we participate in today's proceedings, we pray that our discussions will be productive, informative, and beneficial to the people we serve. May the information shared today foster greater understanding, transparency, accountability, and confidence in the work being undertaken across our ministries. We also pray for our farmers, fishers, entrepreneurs, athletes, creatives, cooperatives, and all citizens whose efforts contribute to the growth and development of our federation. Continue to bless their endeavors and grant them success in all that they do. Lord, may we never lose sight of the importance of service to others and the responsibility we share in building a stronger, more prosperous, and more united St. Kitts and Nevis. We ask these blessings in your holy name. Amen. Please be seated. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to our Quarter 2 press conference for 2026. As we gather here today, We do so at a significant point in the year, having completed the first 6 months of 2026. We have reached the halfway mark of the year, and I think that deserves a round of applause. Now, I know that for some people, July is the unofficial second new year. It's a chance to revisit those goals, restart those resolutions, and convince ourselves that we still have plenty of time to accomplish everything we set out to do in January. So permit me to say, Happy New Year again. And while some of us may still be working on our personal resolutions, my gym goals included, I'm pleased to report that the ministries represented here today have been making considerably more progress over the last quarter than I have in the gym, sadly. And so we look forward to sharing some of that progress with you this morning. Today's theme, progress you can see, impact you can feel, speaks directly to the purpose of this engagement. It reminds us that development is not measured solely by plans, announcements, or statistics. True progress is reflected in the opportunities created, the communities strengthened, the livelihoods improved, and the lives positively impacted through purposeful action and effective leadership. Over the past quarter, the ministries of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Marine Resources, Sports, Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives, and the Creative Economy have continued to advance initiatives aimed at empowering people, supporting economic growth, fostering innovation, and creating pathways for sustainable national development. Now, ladies and gentlemen, leadership is often defined not simply by the ability to manage the present, but by the ability to anticipate the future. Our minister possesses the rare ability to see not only where we are, but where we have the potential to be, and then chart a course to get us there. He is a strategic thinker with the vision, insight, and determination required to transform ideas into action and opportunities into outcomes. Through purposeful leadership and a steadfast commitment to service, he continues to champion initiatives that are creating opportunities, strengthening communities, and delivering meaningful results for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, one of the qualities that I admire most about the minister is his belief in people, particularly young people. He understands that leadership is not simply about achieving results today, but about developing the leaders who will shape tomorrow. If you take a look around this head table and throughout the teams represented here this morning, you will see many young professionals serving in positions of responsibility. Now, that is no accident. It is the result of a leader who believes in empowering others, creating opportunities, and trusting people to grow, develop, and excel. And if you would permit me a brief personal reflection, I stand before you this morning as one such example. The opportunities afforded to me under his leadership have challenged me to grow, encouraged me to lead, and allowed me to contribute in meaningful ways. So for that, Minister, I am sincerely grateful. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the podium to give his opening remarks, the Honorable Samal Duggins.
Ladies, gentlemen, permanent secretaries, directors, other staff members from the various ministries, the media, everyone St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course, the host for this morning's event, I wish to bid you morning greetings of the highest regard. I stand here today honored and pleased and feeling blessed to be leading a wonderful team of hard-working civil servants and professionals who have committed themselves to advancing our nation, our great St. Kitts and Nevis. Every quarter for the past few years, and I want us to consider this, every 90 days for the past few years, we have come here to the people and give an account of what we've done in that 90-day period. This is something I believe be as well when you're in public service on the measure of accountability. Because as you work on behalf of the people, it is important to account to these people on your work being done. And I want to say that as we look at the work that we have done over each 90-day period, and particularly the last 90 days representing the second quarter of 2026, that it is important to also reflect as we now are approaching August, which marks 4 years of this administration, to reflect on what the work over the last 4 years has been. Now, for me, I can't believe that 4 years really would have gone by so soon. However, as I was reflecting on the many videos from each quarter of these press conferences, I can't believe it has only been 4 years with all that has been done. Now, as a minister, I believe that it is important to note that in the last 4 years, or even before that, leading into that last 4 years, we made commitments to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We made commitment to the people of the region, and we made commitment to the people of the world, because even though we are one of the smallest nations in the Western Hemisphere, what we do certainly impacts on a global level. And some of those commitments that were made, especially as it relates to my own commitments, were in the areas of the creative economy, the areas of agriculture, the areas of small business development, and the area of people development on a whole. As it relates to agriculture, I committed that we will fence the farms around the country. To date, over 700 farmers would have received materials to fence their farms. I committed that as we were challenged by drought conditions, worsening drought conditions, I also committed that we will find and present to our farmers solutions to help them mitigate droughts. And as today, we are going through one of the worst drought periods that this country has ever seen, I am also a bit delighted that I've been eating sweet pineapples and sweet vegetables for the last few months, although we are suffering one of the worst drought periods from our own local soil. That speaks to resilience. That speaks to where vision meets the situation and overcomes. Because our farmers are able to produce during the worst drought period, partly because they were prepared for it. And as we go further into the hurricane season, our farmers are also prepared, given the fact that they are now insured against such. But this is where vision meets reality. I also committed that we will strengthen the small business sector in this country, and over the years we have done so. We created a ministry dedicated to small business development. We have done endless training sessions for small business persons. And we have also ensured that they have the right financial support, whether it's through loans of low interest rates or through grant funding. Through all these mechanisms, our small businesses have seen some form of development, and we continue to do so. I've also spoken much of the creative sector. And in the creative sector, we spoke about exporting our talent. And in the idea of exporting our talent, in the last 4 years, I'm quite sure that we all could agree, we have never seen more of our talent exposed on the global scene. Whether it was New Vibes or Small Acts or whichever band traveling to Europe, Germany, or wherever they may have been. Whether it would have been our artists and entertainers in Miami, whether it would be throughout the region, whether it was our DJs and artists performing in Ghana, whether it is our artists in Nigeria, whether it is in Japan, wherever it was, that something was happening, it almost felt like we had representation from St. Kitts and Nevis through our creative sector. And that, I think, is important. And I'm also pleased to be building now the Creative Arts Center, the home for our creatives, right over on the hill just off of Connery. These are not merely projects for me. These are the foundation for national development. These represent for me the future of St. Kitts and Nevis. Because for too long, our people, our creatives, our sportsmen and women, our farmers have been seen in not so favorable lights. We have called some of what they do hobbies and cast it as a sidebar. I'm saying no longer. I'm saying here now we have a revolution. A revolution where our people who want to be in the creative sector, our people who want to be sportsmen and women, our people who want to dedicate their lives to agriculture can now find meaningful ways to integrate themselves into our society, and now can be the driving force of a nation. And when a nation is driven by passion, when a nation is driven by people who love what they do, you can be assured that that will be a thriving nation. And I'm happy to be the minister charting that course. And I'm happy to be a part of an administration led by the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Joe, who has been part of charting a new vision for St. Kitts and Nevis. And today you will see part of that new vision and what has been done over the last 90 days. And you'll have a chance as the media to ask questions, share your concerns, share your commendations as well to the team, to the ministries, because this is not a single man's effort. Everything that has been done by teamwork. I bring every director and every permanent secretary to the table every 90 days so that we understand that this is real team effort. And I want to thank the chairperson. I almost got teary-eyed when you gave your opening remarks, because it is a true passion for me. I have always advocated that youth deserve their space. And I always go back to one of my favorite poems from one of my favorite poets, Miss Jeanne Williams, a poem she had dubbed 65, where she asks a fundamental question, that if 65% of this country is young people, then why we don't see more young people involved in decision making? And I have lived my time here in public office to ensure that that is corrected. And if you look at the table, it is a true representation of our society, where over 65% of the persons at the table represent the true driving force of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I will continue to do so once given the chance to lead in this capacity, to ensure that young people have a space, have a voice, not just to follow along, but to be a part of the leadership of the conversation of national development. And so to all of you here, influencers, I see a few influencers in the room, continue to do the good work that you do. To the media, you have a responsibility. One, to hold us accountable in public office, but also to ensure that the people understand what is being done. So thank you for showing up every 90 days to be here, to ask your questions, and convey the messaging to the general public. And to everyone else who's here, thank you all for your commitment, and we look forward to continuing working and delivering progress you can see and an impact that you can surely feel. Thank you, and let us continue to look at the work done by these ministries and this great team. Thank you and good morning again.
Thank you, Minister. Today's presentation has reinforced the importance of vision-driven leadership, strategic action, and a commitment to delivering results for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. As highlighted by the Minister, the progress we celebrate today is not merely reflected in projects completed or programs implemented, but in the tangible impact being felt. Ladies and gentlemen, join me again in showing our appreciation to Minister Duggins. We now transition to the next segment of today's program, where we will take a closer look at the work being undertaken across the various ministries through a series of progress reports. Now, these reports provide an opportunity not only to showcase the achievements, but also to highlight the people, partnerships, and communities that continue to benefit from this work. So we now invite your attention to our first progress report, the Department of Sports.
As we look back at the second quarter of the 2026 sporting year, one thing is very clear. We are seeing progress and we are feeling its impact. Over the past few months, St. Kitts and Nevis has continued to make its mark in sport, both regionally and internationally. We proudly hosted the 2026 IHF Trophy Knockout AC Beach Handball Championship, showing that our federation is growing not only in competition, but also in its ability to stage major sporting events. Our athletes also delivered exceptional performances abroad. Our men's beach volleyball team captured gold at the 2026 ECVA Men's Beach Volleyball Championships, while our basketball 3v3 team became champions at the Anosis 3v3 basketball tournament in Tartolo. In sailing, Grayson Boyle made history through his representation at the Mini Bucket Regatta in St. Barth and the Optimist North American Championships in Canada, highlighting the continued growth of talent within the federation. On the local football scene, Montreal Farms playing right over the United Jets made history by winning the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Premier League undefeated, a truly outstanding achievement.
In cricket, a landmark partnership between the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots is creating new opportunities for local talent. Through the initiative, national players Michael Louis and Jeremiah Louis are currently training at a high-performance cricket facility in India, gaining valuable international exposure and elite-level development opportunities.
These moments are more than just victories. They are signs of growth, commitment, and national pride. This is progress you can see and impact you can feel.
All right, let's hear it for the Department of Sports. Our next progress reports come from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Marine Resources.
During the second quarter of 2026, the Department of Agriculture continued delivering meaningful results through practical initiatives aimed at strengthening food security, supporting farmers, and building resilience across the sector. A major highlight was the successful hosting of the 31st Annual Agriculture Open Day, which brought together farmers, students, agro-processors, stakeholders, vendors, and the wider public to showcase innovation, education, and opportunities within agriculture. The department successfully hosted 2 agriculture night markets during the quarter, including the Easter edition held in April and the St. Kitts Music Festival edition held in June. These initiatives continued to provide valuable opportunities for farmers, agro-processors, food vendors, and small businesses to showcase and sell their products. To further support resilience within the sector, the department hosted the water tank handing over ceremony, improving water access and strengthening drought preparedness through enhanced water storage capacity for farmers. In partnership with a Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, the department conducted targeted farmer training sessions equipping livestock farmers with knowledge in production systems, record keeping, nutrition, and disease management to improve efficiency and profitability. These initiatives reflect the department's continued commitment to delivering progress you can see and impact you can feel for agriculture in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Throughout the second quarter of 2026, the Department of Marine Resources delivered progress you can see, impact you can feel through strategic initiatives that supported fisheries. The department proudly participated in the 31st Annual Agricultural Open Day, where patrons engaged with interactive marine displays focused on fisheries, conservation, and marine biodiversity. A notable development during the quarter was the strategic sinking of a decommissioned aircraft, a collaborative initiative aimed at creating an artificial squeeze system to support marine life and strengthen biodiversity within our waters. The department also hosted an engagement session facilitated by Saniford Rural Edwards, bringing together fishers and stakeholders to explore practical approaches to improving market opportunities, strengthening supply chains, and enhancing market linkages for local seafood products. These initiatives reflect the department's continued commitment to sustainable marine resource management, stronger fisheries, and meaningful impact for fishers and coastal communities throughout St. Kitts and Nevis.
As we conclude the second quarter of 2026, the St. Kitts and Nevis Medicinal Cannabis Authority is pleased to announce receipt of our first set of completed applications, signaling that St. Kitts and Nevis will soon welcome its first licensed operator. The authority also secured an arrangement with legal experts from St. Vincent to establish a framework for banking in the medicinal cannabis industry. This collaboration lays the foundation for compliant financial services, enabling operators to transact securely and fostering investor confidence, which is a critical step towards sustainable industry growth. Quarter 2 marked the official launch of the Responsible Use Campaign, a nationwide initiative promoting safe, lawful, and health-conscious cannabis practices. Through educational messages on moderation, medical oversight, youth protection, hygiene, and community respect, the campaign is already making an impact by shaping public understanding and reinforcing responsible access. Quarter 2 has been defined by progress you can see and the impact you can feel, from enhanced public education to financial frameworks and the licensing of our first operator. The St. Kitts and Nevis Medicinal Cannabis Authority remains steadfast in its mission.
All right, let's hear it for the Ministry of Agriculture et al. And finally, the powerhouse ministry, the Ministry of Small Business, Entrepreneurship, Cooperatives, and the Creative Economy.
This quarter, the Department of Small Business Development Center continued turning commitment into action, delivering progress entrepreneurs can see and impact communities can truly feel. The field visits in Newton Ground and Date Bay, along with engaging community business meetings in Cayon, the team connected directly with entrepreneurs, listening to their concerns, understanding their challenges, and identifying opportunities for stronger business support. The department also hosted its Dynamic Empowerment Training session, designed to help skilled men strengthen not only their technical expertise, but also their business management capabilities. A major highlight of the quarter was the launch of the second cohort of the Building Bankable Businesses program. Through this 10-week initiative, participants are gaining practical skills in financial literacy, equipping them to build stronger, more sustainable enterprises. The department also welcomed 9 high school interns from across St. Kitts for a 1-week internship program focused on entrepreneurship and business development. Together,
These efforts reflect the ministry's continued commitment to empowering entrepreneurs, strengthening communities, and fostering a culture of innovation and enterprise throughout St. Kitts and Nevis.
The Department of Cooperatives continues to work closely with cooperatives and partners to strengthen the cooperative movement throughout St. Kitts and Nevis. During this quarter, we supported the Gideon Force Agricultural Cooperative in successfully hosting its Elderly Day event, which brought together senior citizens in a spirit of appreciation, fellowship, and community engagement. We also partnered with the St. Kitts Beekeepers Cooperative to execute the Federation's first international apritourism event. Participants explored honey production, created batik using beeswax, made soap with local fruits and honey, and learned quilting through the Textile Arts Buzz Project St. Kitts. This initiative highlighted the innovative ways cooperatives contribute to tourism, agriculture, and the creative economy. In legislative developments, the St. Kitts Nevis National Cooperative League formally submitted the proposed updated Cooperative Societies Act to the Department for review, marking an important step toward modernizing the cooperative legal framework. Additionally, the department continued providing one-on-one training and refresher support to teacher guides involved in the Junior Savers Cooperative Program. Finally, we collaborated with the Department of Agriculture during Eat Local Day, where our Co-op Corner showcased a variety of local delicacies and treats. This is progress you can see and impact you can feel.
This quarter, the Department of Creative Economy continued its mission to create pathways that transform local talent into global opportunity. Through Project Export, local creatives continue to gain exposure beyond the shores of St. Kitts and Nevis. The first phase, Project Export Soundcheck, saw DJ Terror and Akayu Sweet travel to Ghana to participate in Carnival Kingdom, carrying the sound, culture, and energy of the Federation onto an international stage. The next chapter, Project Export New Faces, 2 models were selected from a field of 40 hopefuls to attend an elite training camp led by internationally renowned supermodel Coco Rocha. The department also partnered with the Caribbean Cable Telecommunications Association and the Cable St. Kitts to host the 47th annual CCTA conference in St. Kitts and Nevis. Through that partnership, 40 young creatives participated in the Rising Stars Fellowship Program, gaining access to mentorship from global industry leaders across several disciplines. The excitement for the Creative Power Arts Convention reached new heights during the St. Kitts Music Festival with the official Save the Date announcement for April 2nd to 10th, 2027, and the reveal of our first 4 facilitators. The Department of Creative Economy is pleased to report that construction of the Creative Arts Center has officially begun and is progressing smoothly. This landmark project represents significant investment in the future of our creative sector and the development of cultural infrastructure within the Federation. Local workers have already been engaged on the project, with additional employment opportunities to be made available through ongoing job fairs as construction advances. To support the efficient delivery and successful completion of the project, a steering committee comprising key stakeholders and relevant agencies has also been established, ensuring strong oversight, coordination, and accountability throughout every phase of development. This is progress you can see and impact you can feel.
Time is moving very quickly in 2026, and the Department of Cultural Heritage continued with activities that demonstrate progress you can see, impact you can feel. Our most recent We Village That took place in the community of Halfway Tree in a display of togetherness and the acknowledgement of contributions made by Uriel Hensley, Violet James, Eugenia Johnson, Wingrove Herbert, Tessie Tesroy Green, and Alec G. Warner. The young creatives from the Verchilds High School were Kimari Rivera, painter, Nashawn Williams, masquerade dancer, and the award for community spirit went to Veronica Dolores Charles. One less perceptible undertaking of the department is contributions towards the display of an ICH element during a community festival. That can range from demos of how to make traditional cultural foods to spoken word presentations. As a cultural heritage registered event, Green Valley Festival was the most recent recipient, with a performance by the Brotherhood Drummers during their opening ceremony. In collaboration with Dr. Susan Owens, owner of Bougainvillea Books and Things, and Barbados-based Herit Edge, a non-profit heritage organization, the department contributed to a visual arts exhibition at the Shadwell Great House from June 22nd to 27th. We are still accepting folklore photos that will be digitized for education and posterity. The Department of Cultural Heritage is on the fast track, giving you progress you can see, impact you can feel, and we do mean on the fast track. We are culturally yours at the Department of Cultural Heritage.
St. Kitts and Nevis, are you ready? We are 6 months away from the most anticipated event of the year, and we are just getting started. We are thrilled to present the official Sugar Mass 55 events calendar. And let me tell you, this year we have truly outdone ourselves. From November 2026 to January 2027, this calendar is packed, and there is something for absolutely everyone. Auditions for the Miss St. Kitts and Nevis Queen pageant were held on Saturday, 13th June, and very soon we will be launching the official ambassadors for both Miss St. Kitts Nevis and Miss Teen St. Kitts Nevis. So watch this space. Registration is now open for Panorama, the Grand Parade, Juve, and the Soca Monarch. Participants, do not wait. Do not sleep on this. Make sure that you log on to SKN Carnival and register today. And this summer, look out for us everywhere. We are taking Sugar Mass across the region. We started at the St. Kitts Music Festival, and we will be moving through summer festivals and carnivals throughout the Caribbean. Wherever the culture lives, Sugar Mass will be there. We are on a mission to make Sugar Mass 55 the biggest, the boldest, and the most impactful carnival this federation has ever seen. This is progress that you can see and real impact that you can feel. Sugar Mass 55, it's the ultimate vibe, and we cannot wait to see you there.
All right, a round of applause for the Powerhouse Ministry. And if I might add, we have the person who would have coined the slogan for Carnival right here in the audience, Miss Kyla Morton. So let's give her a round of applause. Now, one thing I must say about these reports, you could definitely tell by the presenters which department they come from. The creative elements and all of that they add to it brings life to the work that is being done across the ministries. Now, I wish to thank all of the presenters for those insightful updates, and the presentations we've heard today, I think, truly embodies the progress you can see and the impact you can feel. And now we are going to move into the most anticipated part of this segment, the question and answer segment. Now, members of the media are invited to pose their questions. All questions, of course, will be directed to the minister, who will then delegate to the most suitable representative for a response if needed. Before asking your question, please state your name and the media house that you represent for the record. To ensure that all media houses have an opportunity to participate, we kindly ask that each representative limit their initial intervention to a maximum of 2 questions before we move to the next media house. The floor is now open for questions.
Good morning. The name is Glenn Bart, representing Television Caribbean Channel 40. I'd like to commend the entire department on the splendid work that it has been doing. They have been doing based on the video presentations. I do have a couple of questions to open with. First, it relates to agriculture. And I remember at the last press conference that we had, I inquired about the statistical information that should be available to the media and to the public, essentially to prove the progress that is being made, to quantify how far we have come, let's say even from 5 years ago or 10 years ago, to indicate whether or not we are really making progress or we are standing still or whatnot. I think that is very important, and I would like to know what is the status on that, because I think you had indicated that you would provide some information on that soon. Associated with that is the fisheries. Can you provide us with a little more details about what is planned for the development of the fisheries industry? I remember earlier in the administration, there was talk about creating deep sea fishing and a whole range of associated activities, canning and whatnot. What has become of that? Where is the ministry going with that? My second question relates to cannabis. Mentioned about the financial structures. Explain a little bit more about that. How are farmers being protected legally, and how is the country being protected legally in this cannabis industry? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bat, for those questions. Your questions, although 2 questions, would have been over 3 parts. So what I would do is the first part regarding the agricultural statistics. We have the director here who's actually leading on that project that I told you that is happening, and I will have him give an update as to what is happening there, following which I will have the director, the acting permanent secretary, who has served over the last few years as director of fisheries, give you an update of what we have done over the past few years. And we do have the CEO of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority here, and I would have him give you an update on the work that is happening in regards to the financial framework and other areas as well that we have been working on to ensure that we have a very robust, very structured, and very safe medicinal cannabis industry that we could be proud of. So I'll start off with Mr. Versailles, the Director of Agriculture.
Okay, good morning to everyone. With regards to your question pertaining to statistics, as the minister indicated at the start when I joined the department, we want to move in a different direction. And most of our actions and decisions taken at the Department of Agriculture must be data-driven. We are still in the process of collecting these data. As in this month, we have the officers them now out in the field in terms of surveying, in communicating with the farmers to collect and collate all the data that is presented, looking at what is actually produced and what is there inside of the field. In comparison to that, that is imported as well. So we want to have a comprehensive data statistics system that is actually set out to present the information. We don't want to rush into it. We want to take our time and make sure the information that is presented is correct so that appropriate action can be taken for the Department of Agriculture's growth pertaining to that. So in short order, we will be able to present that information to you when it is completed.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the opportunity to answer this question. As we discuss on the fisheries end, we really have a very strong plan for the next 6 months, because what we're looking to continue is our fisheries resilience program. And what that program entails is seeking to see how we could have as many of our fishing vessels into the water. Some of them need repairing, small engine repairs, so we're looking to have boat repair workshops. We should have one in August, right? Following that, we will be having a number of other boat repair workshops to teach our youngsters how to repair boats, right? And at the same time, giving our fishers a chance to get the assistance they need to get their boats back into the water. So that's something that we're looking to move forward with, as well as our small engine workshops to make sure that our vessels are in the sea and make sure that our young people are trained, technical people are trained in how to fix engine. This has been an issue over for a period of time, that we don't have enough trained individuals to assist us with keeping our fisheries going stronger. Okay, so that is something to expect. I must express that over the past year, we would have deployed 21 fish aggregating devices into the sea to assist with our ocean pelagic program. Our fishers have been benefiting from it. I can't tell you how many calls I've had to say, "Boy, the fads are really working. They're catching quite a bit of fish," and so on. So with that, in terms of the deep sea, we have done that work over the past 12 months. And on the cards as well, we're still looking at how we could enhance our deep sea to go further out, which is fishing in areas that we have not fished regularly, right? By seeking how maybe we could connect with some other country, fishing company, right, to see how we could enhance fishing in the deep sea, and at the same time give our local fishers experience fishing further out in the sea. Okay, so once we've reached to that point, of course, and we see that the volumes of fish that we were able to bring in, then we could now move into value-added products, as you mentioned about canning and so on. But at this point in time, what we focused on over the past year, and I think last year, we would have had a workshop on value-added products where we were making fish balls, we were making fish balls, fish burgers, etc., which is for sale, right? But we would have still need some more time to really establish it, okay? Yes. In terms of export, let me express that we continue to export a large amount of conch, right, on a regular basis. We also export quite a bit of the Caribbean spiny lobster as well. So we export that weekly, okay, to our export markets. Oh, we export to St. Martin, we export to St. Thomas, right, quite like weekly, right, we do that, and those two mainly at this point in time.
Good morning, Chairman Abel.
Hold on, I think there was a question on cannabis.
Yes, good morning. And to touch on the banking situation for medicinal cannabis, we noticed that this can be very problematic, especially because of our correspondent banking situation with U.S. banks. So we have sought the services of our consultant, Mr. Saboto Caesar. He is a past Minister of Agriculture for St. Vincent and a lawyer. He was very instrumental in setting about the banking framework for St. Vincent's medicinal cannabis industry. So he will be helping us set up our framework and designing our solutions. He's scheduled to be here on the 19th, and he will be here for about 5 days, engaging in conversations with different banks and credit unions on island to see what will make them comfortable doing business with us. He will also introduce our national track and trace system, which the banks and credit unions will be privy to. making sure that everyone is comfortable with the business that we're doing, and therefore all funds will be able to be banked safely without issue.
Good morning, Jeremy Abel, SKN Vibes. Madam Chair, just excuse me, I just want to do a follow-up before I ask my two questions. To the Director of Agriculture, you're saying that your decisions are data-driven, but we don't have the data to present if you're basically, your ministry is being data-driven. I'm just trying to understand what is lacking for the data to be presented. That's one. In terms of my questions, Mr. Minister, can you give us an update on the Tabasco pepper project? Where is that right now? And have we reached a stage of exporting any of those in large quantities? And in terms of the broader agriculture sector, you touched on it a little bit earlier in terms of the drought and also the work that you've been doing in the sector. But we're actually being impacted by basically two issues right now. The El Nino conditions, and we're also within the hurricane season. How are plans going to deal with both of them at the same time? Because we're in the drought, which probably will be impacting farmers. How is the plans in terms of assisting those farmers in terms of water supply, one, and two, how is your preparation impacted by that as well as the hurricane season? Thanks.
I want to thank you for those questions. Now, regarding the question about what would have been known as the Tabasco Pepper Project, which has now been reshaped over the last few years into nature, SKN Nature. It is 100 acres of farmlands just off of Kayon area that we are now cultivating. Those lands have been cleared, the infrastructure is being installed, protected with fencing, the ground covers, the water lines, all of the infrastructural work has been put in, and the cultivation, if I'm not mistaken, is yes, the cultivation has started. I just wanted to confirm that it has started. In terms of the export of the peppers, we are not at that stage. We are cultivating, and we are not at the stage of export of peppers. However, you do understand 100 acres is quite a bit to build out, especially starting from scratch, where there was nothing present there but just forage before. So that is ongoing and developing, and I think it would be wise, and maybe we should do a media tour to take the media there so that they can see for themselves what is actually taking place there, because a significant amount of work has gone on over at that project. Outside of that, you spoke to the issue of drought and hurricanes, and correctly I alluded to that in my opening presentation, because this isn't something that we did not foresee. We were hoping that it would get better rather than worse, but over the last decade we have seen worsening drought conditions every single year, and as part of that we were proactive. We were very intentional, and when we created the program that we dubbed DRIP, Drought Resilience Irrigation Project, we ensured that hundreds of farmers were able to get water tanks. Hundreds of farmers were able to get drip line to be able to regulate water supply to their farms. They were able to get ground cover to help with water and weed retention, to be able to withhold moisture in the soil in conditions such as these. And we were able to distribute that. The last check I saw, there was over 700 farmers that benefited from these programs. Now, that was our intentional approach, prepare them for a time when water would not be as abundant, and to be able to do more with less water. store it in the water tanks, regulate its use through the drip lines, and be able to withhold some of that moisture in the soil with the ground cover. And we've seen some successes with that. Let us take a farm, one of our more popular pineapple producers, Yellers. His farm is fully covered, fully drip irrigated, and fenced. And we saw he basically produced pineapples the whole summer in a condition that we all agree is one of the worst drought conditions. And the pineapples were huge, they were juicy, they were sweet, and they were well presented in terms of uniform shape, uniform coloring, which means they were of the highest standard. And we are doing this in some of the worst conditions. We also recognize that some of the farmers were missed, and we came back again and we gave out another 25,000 gallon tanks just this quarter in the last, about 2 months ago. Again, to aid those farmers in ensuring that they are better prepared to store water and use it effectively to grow crops. And that's on the water end, but we didn't stop there. Earlier this year, it was in January actually, we announced that the REAP insurance was now in effect. All of the country is insured against winds, hurricane force winds, severe drought conditions, as well as so wind and drought conditions. And that covers, the government has paid for that, just over $1 million, and it covers the entire country, which means all of our farmers, by extension, are covered by this program. So that is part of our own effort to help to protect farmers. Now, while we can't stop hurricanes, and we can't stop the devastating impact of hurricanes, what we can do is prepare ourselves that in the unfortunate event that something happens, that we are able to rebound rapidly, and we are able to be in a financial position to do so. And that is what the insurance package has done for St. Kitts and Nevis. So between the insurance, the DRIP, and other initiatives, we believe our farmers are, one, better prepared to manage throughout the droughts, and also better covered in the event, the unfortunate event, of some disaster that may befall us during the season.
So am I to understand that based on the container that you would have provided, the storage tanks, that you're quote-unquote equipped even though there are going to be inconsistent periods of water rationing?
Well, would I said that they are equipped fully? That's a determination based on the size of the farm. What I'm saying that they are better equipped than they would have been without them. And so we are now steps forward in the right direction.
Okay, sorry. Now, as the minister left off, I would like to continue. We do understand our main objective at the Department of Agriculture is food security. Our only job is food security, ensuring production reaches your table, reaches your spoon, that every person in St. Kitts have the availability and accessibility of food and nutrition. We want to take the guesswork out of it. Right? And that's the whole idea, as I continue to say, it takes time to make sure that your information is presented. Because let's take the guesswork out of it. Let's look at our poultry industry. We want to know how many birds are actually on the ground, the consumption of each bird. We just don't want to purchase feed, just for purchasing feed, because we used to purchase 12 bags, so let's continue purchasing 12 bags. How much food is actually consumed by the animal, for how long we need to purchase this feed for, and what nutritional value we need to get to make sure that the animal reaches to a particular weight, particular size, in order to be slaughtered. Let's look at the crop production. You just asked a question pertaining to moisture, water. How much moisture, how much water actually need each plant to reach optimum production? Right? This information must be collected from the officers and they go out into the field. We do have some restrictions, limitations in terms of vehicle access. I mean, I wish each officer had a vehicle to actually go out into the field in terms of extension to collect that information within the field and bring it back to the office so we could properly analyze it and then put it forward. We don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury of each officer for each district to go out and collect that information for us to properly analyze it and send it forward. We just don't. But with the limited resources we have, we must try our best to get that information to make those decisions. As we said, we want to be data-driven, right? We want to be more informed. We want to know exactly what is out in the field so we can make that decision. Eventually, the boats are stop coming, will stop coming. We will have a next pandemic, hopefully not in the near future, right? And we need to make sure our people, food is secured, our people is secured, right? What type of crops we need to secure them in? Not the sweet pepper, not the tomato, not the cabbage, not the lettuce, but a starch, the carbs. Let's look at our dasheen industry. Where is it right now? Where is it need to be? The substitute for bird food, for flour production. What are we going to feed our people when these incidents happen again? And we need to make sure that we have the right information to make those right decisions. That is why the minister continued to indicate to ourselves, in order for us to make such a decision, we need to have that information. But we need to have the correct information, which means we need to ask the right questions. We need to revisit what is it that we are asking to make sure we have that information, that data, to present to the general public. We don't just want to come out and present information just for presenting information's sake. We want to make sure we have it right. Let's try and do it right. If it takes time, let's take the time necessary to present the right information so we can make the right decision. What will be the right decision? Hopefully, when the information is presented, we will guide accordingly. We don't have a monopoly on knowledge, so we depend on everybody outside to bring it together. Let us sit together to make that going forward. But before we do, I would like more extensive work being done in this side of the field in order to make that decision. So I will not rush to the general public and say, this is what we have. Let's take time, use the extension officers as we're supposed to, go out in the field and collect the information, and let us do the proper analysis that we need to do in order to present the general public. So let's not try and fool ourselves. Let's not try and fool anybody. Let's try and present the correct information for the correct path to be taken.
And just to thank you so much, Director Versailles, but just to add something to that. Now, as it regards to our annual, let's take our annual import bill. We have presented that data. At the time when we started, it was just under 200 million. But what we on the inside are doing is now understanding the breakdown of that 200 million. Who's consuming that? Who's purchasing how much every single month? And so what we have now is a data from supermarkets like Rams and hotels like the Marriott and the Hyatt and other hotels and other supermarkets, Value Mart and others. And in fact, I see the lead on that project in the room right now. And we are taking that data now and not just looking at it as a global figure, 200 million, but how much every month. Because every month will have its own curve. You have months during the tourism peak season where you would order and consume more. And months during the slow season where you consume less. And that data now is now fed to farmers as to saying, how much do you plant, when? Because this is the demand. So rather than just a farmer going to the field and planting 10 acres and just going in 10 acres, how about you divide your 10 acres into 4 or 5 plots, and you now rotate so that you have a steady supply over time? Because the 10 acres at one time isn't the national consumption. You're going to overproduce for that period of time. But if you put 10 acres over consistent production over the year, then you will meet the consumption rate accordingly. And these are the kind of data-driven scenarios we are presenting to farmers. The thing is, we are asking farmers to adjust the way of thinking sometimes. Because most farmers are just, oh, it's about to rain, I'm going to plant, and I'm going to plant my whole field. Without ever stopping to think, how much consumption will you have at the time when that fruit or that vegetable is ready to harvest? You have to be able to connect your production to your demand. And we are telling them, instead of planting one big field of whatever, how about you stagger that production so it's more consistent? So that we now have these periodic injection of this fruit, vegetable, or whatever product into the market, which is more in line with the way we consume it. And this is the kind of data that we're talking about.
All right, so I have two questions from SKN Source. However, one is on the drought, but I think it was answered. I'll still ask. Minister, the Federation is currently experiencing drought conditions. What measures are in place to support farmers and protect the gains being made in agriculture and food security? And the second question is, there has been renewed interest in the use of the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium since its reopening. Could you explain the process for schools, clubs, associations, and other groups to access the facility?
I wish to thank you for those two questions. I think we have done a good job at answering the first one, unless there's anyone who would like anything else. Well, I don't know what else I could deliver on that. But the second question, I want to thank you for that one particularly, because I've heard a lot of conversations about the use of Kim Collins. And I've been trying to explain to persons that it is important for Kim Collins to be accessible to the general public to use, but it must be done under some level of management. And we do have a process that allows for the facility to be utilized, but it has to be done under management. And we have sometimes people in different quarters of our society who thinks things should not have rules or regulations, and that it should be free for all. I want to urge us to just be able to go along the lines of proper sustainable use and management. There's a process. And to explain that process, I want to invite the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Sports to give a detailed explanation as to what that process is and how anyone could apply to use the Kim Collins facility and any other facility under the management of sports. P.S. Cider? Oh, so that one will be taken up by the Director of Sports, Mr. Jeffrey Hazel.
Thank you, Minister, for giving us the opportunity to respond to the use of the Kim Collins Stadium. As a matter of fact, this speaks directly to all of the facilities under the supervision of the Department of Sports. So persons wishing to use the facilities must seek permission in writing to the Department of Sports. They can email to sknsports@gov.kn. We usually respond in a quick time, approving most of the times the use of the facilities. Depending on what type of facility or what type of event they want to use, there could be an applicable fee to it. You also get, as part of the approval, a letter that you must take to the police when seeking to have music or the hours, extended hours of use of whatever event that you're going to have. So we give you that instrument so that you can take to the police to confirm that your event is taking place. So the process is quite simple. You just write to the Department of Sports seeking permission to use whatever facility, you give all the details, the time, the date, and we contact you within a short period of time with the approval documentations. Thank you.
And to add to what my director would have said and to support what the minister would have said, the use of Kim Collins seems to always be a contentious issue. For far too long, Kim Collins has been just used by anybody for anything because access was really left open to everybody. What we discovered was that it was being misused and mismanaged. We discovered somewhere along the line, different persons were able to get keys cut for Kim Collins. So sometimes we weren't even aware who was using Kim Collins. Recently, we made a decision. We had some issues. Some of the gates weren't functional. So all the gates now are functional. We changed the locks. So now the facility is completely locked. So it seems like those who were able to use their keys to access the facility, since they were not able to use their keys to access the facility, it has become said that the facility is locked down. The facility is not locked down, the facility is secure. As the director would have said, there is a process, and that process has been communicated more than once. The main user of the facility is the Eskin Athletics and the clubs that fall under the Eskin Athletics. Eskin Athletics, this information has been communicated more than once. There has to be some sort of accountability for the use of the stadium. Lots of money just went into renovating the stadium, and we have to be accountable to the people for the people's money. It's the people's money that was used to renovate the stadium. As the minister said, as soon as you put rules in place, as soon as you enforce those rules, you become the bad person. That the Ministry of Sports, the Department of Sports, locking the athletes out of the facility. That is so not true. What we have done, we've sent out a request to Escan Analytics, to sports club, to schools, to whoever wants to use the facility. You have to give us your schedule. When do you intend to use the facility? Because we have staff at the facility, so we have to give our staff ample notice that Jeffrey is going to use the stadium Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, so that our staff is there to ensure that things are done the way they're supposed to be done. Or else we are going to end back up in the same situation we were in a few years back. And that is not going to happen. We are not going to allow that. So there is no issue between the Department of Sports, the Ministry of Sports, and the users of the facility. There is none. Simple, you want to use the facility, you write to Mr. Hazel, the Department of Sport, you address the letter to Jeffrey Hazel, the Director of Sport, and you explain everything, and then we work out from there, and everybody is happy. They get to use the facility, and we are assured who is using the facility, when they're using the facility, so if something goes wrong, we know who is accountable for what happened. And I hope that answered the question.
The Minister and everyone at the head table, Troy Biff Mills from winnfm 98.9. I like the presentations made. They seem very professional, and it seems as if the directors and everyone involved, they have a future in acting. P.S., you mentioned compliance and enforcement. I don't know if you peeped on my note here. In terms of the creative economy, it depends on legislation, but it's also on consistent enforcement. When will the Ministry of Creative Economy, in collaboration with the Attorney General and the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, ensure that the country's copyright and intellectual property laws are actively and consistently enforced? We've been hearing about it. King Socrates had a song back in 1989, Stop the Piracy. And the second question, without effective enforcement, again, PSA, of the existing laws and the introduction of any additional legislation that may be required, it becomes difficult to protect creators, encourage investment, promote fairness, and foster sustainable growth within the creative sector. What concrete steps and timelines can stakeholders expect to ensure that these protections are applied equally to everyone operating within the industry? Thank you very much.
Sorry, what protection are you referring to in the second, just before you ended?
into laws, legislation, we seem to have a tendency, and I normally say everyone is equal, but some persons are more equal than others, because certain persons are allowed to do certain things and others not. So what are you going to have in place to ensure that all the laws are applied to everyone equally? And of course, in a transparent manner. Thank you.
Mr. Mills, I want to thank you for those questions. I also want to indicate that the creation of these laws in a different ministry and department. However, the creative economy certainly supports the protection of our creatives. And to get deeper into that, I would allow the director of the creative economy to give you an address to that, because there's some work that has been going on in that regard.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mills, for your question. As it relates to the copyright enforcement, copyright actually lies on the Intellectual Property Office, and in terms of I would say the monitoring and enforcement of it would be between ECHO and also the police. However, the Department of Creative Economy has recognized that we need to ensure that our creatives are properly protected across the board. And so we have actually done a number of different engagements and meetings. First, we had it with ECHO themselves, with the main headquarters, where they were restructuring their entire operations and showing the progress that has been made. Secondly, we met with international trade, where ECHO was a part of being a stakeholder there. We had some engagement there on how do we, reestablish the public's or ECHO's public image with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and the creatives. As we know, before there has been some, battles, even legal implications when it has come to ECHO. We have also worked together with the Intellectual Property Office to create a timeline on how we will develop that campaign and ensure that things are done in the recently as January or December adopted the new Copyright Act that was done through the Intellectual Property Office. So these are things that have always been in the works. We have continuously been engaging and see how it is that we can ensure that our creators are protected, but also address the concerns that creators may have with certain entities. And so that is a work in process, and in short order, we should be continuing that campaign. I'm not sure I understand the second question. However, the department has also been developing its creative industry policy. We have decided to take what I would call gradual steps. So not every sector would have complete policy oversight, but we have started with the more, popular and more needed sectors, just because it takes a lot of research and infrastructure that we do not quite have as yet. But in the near future, in the next 3 to 4 months, you would see some work being done along with the inland revenue in terms of business, ensuring enforcement in business, ensuring compliance with business license and management. But all of that is currently in the works at the Department of the Creative Economy, and along with its relevant stakeholders involved and entities, because we are not the sole oversight body. Yes.
Just to add quickly, when we speak about creatives, we also would speak to our national carnival stakeholders as well. And in short order, our chair would be meeting with those stakeholders, and we are looking at making sure that these persons are duly registered and compliant so that they can benefit from any incentives or technical support that would be offered to them. So we encourage continuous engagement with all of our creatives so that we can develop these policies and legislation that would be most beneficial to their growth and development. Yes. Even the departments, ministries, when we are having events, we have to pay for our eco license.
All right, so we'll take 2 final questions.
Good morning, everyone. Zai Hendrickson, ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation. So, my first question. So, you've spoken about creating more opportunities for young people, and are there any new initiatives expected before the end of the year that will directly benefit entrepreneurs as well as young professionals? My second question. Following the postponement of Active 2026, have discussions begun with Afreximbank on a revised timeline? And what assurances can you give stakeholders that St. Kitts and Nevis remains ready to host the event when it is rescheduled?
I wish to thank ZIZ for those questions. However, the second question, I think, is outside of the scope of today's press conference, as Active and its component parts do not rest within the ministries under my purview. So I am not adequately able to answer such questions on Active, and I believe that is more aptly directed to the Office of the Prime Minister and the ministries surrounding its, that would be able to conduct that. However, as your first question regarding young people and opportunities, we have consistently been doing what we can across these ministries, in particular and across the government administration, to ensure that young people have a place. Over the last few weeks, I've had interesting discussions with the emerging talent that we see coming out now, called social influencers. Understanding their view on society, the creative sector, and their own personal work. Because as we continue to live and evolve as a people, things around us are evolving equally. And the media landscape is evolving just the same way. There was a time when the media landscape was predominantly based on newspaper. And then you added radio, and then you added television, and then you added social media. And now in the social media space, we're evolving to see the influencers take their space and their dominance in terms of how the message is conveyed. And they too have a certain perspective to how things are done. And we can't remain in one space hinged on one perspective, because some persons, they grew up in the era when it was just newspaper. And that's what they know, and that's what they conduct their business on. And there's some persons who grew up where radio was dominant. And again, but we want to evolve with the times. And so we have sat, in some cases for hours, with our social influencers and asked them, how do you see the world? And I see some of them here smiling. How do you see the world? What do you believe we need to do as a creative sector to empower what you're doing and what everybody else is attempting to do? And we had very enriching discussions. Now, these are going to be integrated into our national plan. We just saw the St. Kitts Music Festival, a spectacular event that just took place here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we saw the impact, not just of the creative sector, but also the young persons within the sector. And we also saw the impact of our influencers. So our artists, the Rodney, Dejour, and so many other artists we saw within that space being able to showcase their talent. But I also want to talk about the promotion that is being done by our local influencers. Getting Ready With Me. going out and showcasing what it is we offer through their lens. And these are the initiatives that we will continue to integrate into our everyday lives, but also, and more importantly, to facilitate through efforts like our Creative Power Arts Convention. Why? Because we believe that proper training and proper exposure to industry professionals will position our people to be best able to then conduct their businesses effectively. And that is why we do the Creative Power Arts Convention. So that is something I'm looking forward to. I know you asked this year, but that is April next year. But leading up to that, it is to ensure that our young people, our creatives, young at heart, whatever the case is, has a space. But coming back to one other thing, we cannot forget the St. Kitts Nevis National Carnival. Because we've seen where our carnival has become a highlight across the region. St. Kitts Nevis National Carnival, or as we call it, Sugar Mass, is now referred to in the top tier of carnivals across the region. And that is predominantly an expression of our youthful culture. When you look at the average person who conducts the bands in our National Carnival Parade, young persons. When you look at the entertainers, young persons. I mean, we recently lost one, Chubby. When you look at his age, it's a young person. And these are spaces that we create for young people. But let's also look in another area, sports. We saw the video, basketball champion, young persons, Grayson, 12 or 13 years old, sailing champion. You name it, our young people are excelling in every facet, and we continue to empower that.
All right, so one last question, and then we wrap.
This is in relation to agriculture. Recently, we had contact with a farmer, and he had a particular problem. His indication was that he had approximately 185 cattle, and out of that amount, he lost 170 over a period of 2 years. According to him, he believes the ministry and the department failed to provide proper level of support that was needed. And I'm basically asking if you are aware of this, and does the ministry or the department accept any responsibility for what happened?
Yes, we are aware of the situation. In fact, I spoke to the farmer myself. In fact, talking about support, we have a bill at the department for work that we did in supporting to help that farmer to rectify the conditions at the farm, which has been deteriorated over the last maybe decade or just over a decade. The thing that we are encouraging the stakeholders in agriculture is to be very clear about sustainable practices in what they do to manage farms. Because over time, if you don't manage your farms well, your farm will run into issues. And if you allow your farm to degrade over decades, then at some point, it's going to come back and impact on your livelihood. And we have been encouraging farmers to maintain proper grazing practices. We have been encouraging farmers to maintain proper health practices with their animals. We have provided support that they do so, both in training and actual support. Some farmers may not take the advice. Some farmers, and it's sad, some farmers would tell you that they don't come to the meetings at the Ministry of Agriculture. But yet, when they run into a problem, they turn back and say that the ministry needs to take some accountability. Now, our thing is, you need to come because these trainings are important for your own livelihood. And then we are able to support farmers in ways, meaningful ways, to maintain their own livelihoods, in this case, the cattle. And I could tell you, it is not a matter of the ministry, because a stone's throw away from that farm is a relative's farm, and the cattle are perfectly fine. And so what we are saying is there must be a reason why on one farm that is a stone's throw away, everything is working well, and another farm is not. And obviously that's not a ministerial issue, that is a farmer issue. And we are here to help the farmers. We are here to develop the skill set of the farmers, and we're here to continue to support the farmers. But the farmers must be willing to accept that support and be willing to follow the guidelines provided in a real way to be able to see the real results. And we'll continue to help all farmers, including that one as well.
All right. Thank you to the members of the media for your thought-provoking questions and continued engagement. We truly appreciate the role you play in helping to keep the public informed and ensuring that important national conversations remain accessible to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. At this time, we will bring the question and answer segment to a close. And before I invite the minister, I just want to give 2 notices. The Departments of Creative Economy and Cultural Heritage are both having camps, so I'm encouraging the public to register your children for the Fusion Arts Camp, which takes place from the 20th to, the 20th to the 31st, and the Intangible Cultural Heritage Camp takes place from the 27th of July, right? So send your children to those camps. We now invite the minister to deliver his closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for so ably hosting this morning's press conference. Thank you to the permanent secretaries and directors, professionals who are here, who gave their own honest and professional account of the work that they've done over the last 90 days and beyond in some cases. And thank you particularly to the teams behind the leadership that you see at the table that ensure that the work gets done. But I want to say a special thank you to the media for coming every time, asking the relevant questions, and conveying the information back to the general public. You have an important role to play, and we believe in that role, and that is why we come here to dialogue with you every quarter of every year. Now, as I wrap up today's press conference, I am reminded again, as I was talking earlier, in the last 4 years of my stewardship here as a minister. And I am delighted again to speak on the efforts of the team that you see here with me. And it would be remiss of me to leave today without acknowledging the impact and the importance of their work. You see, it is easy sometimes for us to get on a podium and convey our vision. Because you think it, you say it. It is more difficult to face realities and institute that vision into something tangible. When we look at the days we're living in, we just got out of COVID in 2022, thereabout. The lockdowns ended in 2022, officially. Today, as we sit here, oil prices are, over the last few months, escalating higher than even during COVID period. So it tells you the times that we are living in. These are difficult times globally. However, St. Kitts and Nevis, amidst all the turbulence, all the chaos, all the anxiety that's happening in the world, countries being bombed and wars and oil prices and closing of shipping paths and goods can't move and people afraid and Ebola, and there's so much happening in the world. But we are remaining steadfast. We are keeping the ship afloat and moving forward in the right direction. And within my ministries in particular, I want to highlight something that most people may not take the time to give credit to the hard-working individuals here. Let us look at the Ministry of Agriculture, and particularly the Department of Fisheries. In the history of St. Kitts and Nevis, on record, the Department of Fisheries has generated in this sector millions of dollars every year. However, in the last 3 years, the generation of fisheries revenue has been the highest ever on record in the entire history of St. Kitts and Nevis. We spoke about it before. We are in 2022, it was 9.6, just over 9 million. In 2023, it was just over 15 million. In 2024, it was 19 million. And last year, 2025, it was just under 19 million, 18.8. So 18.5. Now, if you look at the numbers, it means that prior to this administration, the fisheries revenue hadn't gone past 11 million. In the last 3 years, because we're approaching the 4th year in August, in the last 3 years of this administration, first place, second place, and third place in terms of the record has been right here under this administration. And I want to commend the team at the Department of Agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture and Department of Fisheries for the hard work that they are doing. And I think they need a round of applause for that. The records will show highest, second highest, and third highest has been done under the stewardship of this team. When we look at areas like the creative economy, and particularly we could talk about the National Carnival, we see again where the hard work of Shannon and her team has yielded tremendous results. And again, we see where the highest participation, and almost every record in Carnival, in terms of economic impact, largest troops, just almost every record. The highest, second highest, and third highest in the history, the 55-year history of St. Kitts and Nevis, has been under Shannon and the stewardship of this administration. And again, I think the Carnival Committee needs a tremendous round of applause for the work that they continue to do. They're running in a league of their own. First, second, and third belong to the same. Again, agriculture, first, second, and third. And this is not my numbers. These are national records. These are national records. And it shows fisheries, first, second, and third under this stewardship. Carnival, first, second, and third under this stewardship. And we go to the area of sports. Apart from the fact that we have refurbished and started work on almost every national facility, after them they were dilapidated, tells you something. But let's go to the area of cricket. St. Kitts. And we're going to isolate St. Kitts for now. The first West Indies player from St. Kitts, the second West Indies player from St. Kitts, and the third West Indies player from St. Kitts happen under this stewardship again. Right now, in fact, Mikhail and Jeremiah are in India at a high-performance facility training, one of the best cricket facility high-performance training centers in the world, of an initiative that we implemented to ensure that they could perform at the highest level and continue to perform. And again, first, second, and third under this administration, under the stewardship of the people that you see here. If that doesn't send a signal, I don't know what does. In every ministry, you have first, second, and third. The entire podium is to the ministry. That should tell the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that they have a good set of persons working on their behalf. And I am happy to be the minister that they decide to work with. So thank you to all of you for your hard work, your dedication, and your commitment, not only to me and the ministries, but certainly to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Because when we quote fisheries revenue, and we say 19.6 million, we are not talking about government receipts. We are talking about revenue that is going into the pockets of fisherfolk, people around the industry. So when you look around, every fisherman you know, everybody that's a part of the sector, just remember that somewhere among them, $19.6 million shared last year. When you look at National Carnival, the last number was what, Chair? 29 million. It means that vendors, carnival stakeholders, bands, troops, you name it, they shared $29 million last carnival. That's not government receipts. That's receipts that's hitting the pocket of the ordinary people. So when I talk about these numbers, I am proud of them. Why? Because we are making real economic impact to the people that matter most, the ordinary citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. And my work here is to ensure that in the area of agriculture, the area of sports, creative economy, and small businesses, that they continue to lead the conversation of national development and national economic impact, and that they can make a livelihood and a living off of what they love doing, and they don't have to divert into other careers because there's no opportunity for them. And to be able to do that, I have a wonderful, dynamic team with me. And also to be able to do that is the leadership of the Prime Minister and the Federal Cabinet. And I'm honored to sit and be able to do this in a time like this. So thank you all again for coming. Thank you for your questions. And thank you, team, for your hard work and your dedication. I hope we have a wonderful day today. Thank you.
And there
Thank
you
you,
were
Minister.
listening to
And
the
on that
press
note
conference
of thanks,
with
as
the
we
Honorable
bring this
Samal
quarter
Duggins, and that
press
has come
conference
to
to
a
a close,
conclusion.
it is my
And we now
privilege
go
to
back to
extend
the
sincere
usual
thanks
programming.
on behalf of the ministry.